We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast on this Friday. We finally reached the end of the week. We're ready for our just reward, and that is a super regional. That first pitch is slated tonight for 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central on, I believe, ESPNU. That should come up in a second over on the side of your screen. Full schedule today and tomorrow's games and how you can watch it. So that is fantastic. 12-seeded Ole Miss versus 5-seeded Arizona in Tucson at, I think, High Corbett Field. It's the field that Major League, the spring training portion of Major League was filmed at. It's a huge ballpark, like 350, 360 down the lines, over 400 in the gaps, and about 390 to straightaway center. So if you get it true right down the middle, you should be all right because it's the same as Oxford. But down the lines and everything is a good ways to go. The ball is going to carry. There's a little bit of elevation. There's a concern that'll play a little bit like Coors Field, even though it's so big. The fact that it's so big leaves a lot of space in the outfield for the gaps. And obviously the home team is taking advantage of that, hitting so many doubles and triples. So if we can keep that down, play the swing and miss game, we're going to be okay. We do have a preview with Chris Muller down there. He talked a few minutes ago about the game one, the starters and everything that was going on. So tune into that. Give that a watch if you want to talk about baseball. We're also going to do we're going to do a preview of that in segment 2. We're going to play that again. And also in the first segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the baseball team and have the press conference highlights, hear from Mike Bianco, Justin Bench, and Derek Diamond video-wise. So it should be quite good. Quite a good show. We are going to start turning our attention to football, not because baseball is nearing its end or anything like that. It's just about that time. SEC Media Days, I believe, is about a month away. So we need to start getting our mind right towards football and get ready to go. So SEC Media Days should be quite fun. We might go live from the event. We might not. Who knows? We don't know how exactly we're going to cover that. But thank you very much for tuning in for the show. I do want to tell you about the Vault Society before we go any further. It's a 5-year commitment of support. Membership starts at $5,000 a year, and there's a benefit chart on the site. We'll tell you that address in a second. All gifts to Ole Miss between now and June 30th will receive triple points. Red points are non-deductible and go towards priority seating. Blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason, bowl games, and neutral site. What happened last weekend would fit that nicely. So would the game on Labor Day. If you have any questions about that, though, go to give2athletics.com. Again, that is give2athletics.com. Now, we're going into a huge park. We talked yesterday about how we could make the ground a little bit smaller. We've talked about just about everything. But what if the park plays like a launching pad? There's not many home runs compared to us with the team we're playing. That could mean that it's not taking off there, and that's the reason they're so good at doubles and triples. But I mean, there's a chance that we don't know exactly how that park is going to play. So we'll actually see that tonight, because we can gradually assume that it's going to build over the course of the weekend, our knowledge of High Corbett Field or whatever. But I believe that we have a shot to go with our offense. We need to hit the ball like we did Monday. If that carries over, we'll be just fine, because I hate to break this to everybody that's talking, and we're all talking about what ifs. Arizona has to play in the same field that Ole Miss does. And if Ole Miss starts raking and starts hitting gaps, if Kel Baker's going the other way into the right center gap, if Justin Betch is hitting the gap, if Hayden Dunhurst is hitting the gap, Arizona's in trouble, because we have some guys that can really rake. We do need TJ McCants to come around. If he has a big series, Peyton Chatinier looks like he kind of snapped out of it against Southern Miss. So it looks pretty good. Hopefully, Hayden Dunhurst doesn't press and free swings and waits for his pitch to hit, and he can really drive it. So I'm honestly at this point very hopeful of the result tonight, even with Derek Diamond on the hill. I do believe Derek Diamond, who grew up pitching in a somewhat arid climate out west, understands how to pitch in this climate. I think the familiarity of it will probably rub off on him, and it'll feel like a high school sectional game as far as pressure, because it's just going to feel that way on the skin to him. Because Ole Miss doesn't go out west very much, and it's been very watery since he got here, but there's not going to be much water out there. The game should be after dark, should be 60, 78 degrees. It shouldn't be too hot. During the daytime, though, drink plenty of water, even if you feel like you don't need it. It's like sneaky dehydration out there if you're not careful. So be careful about that. And the weather, everybody talks about it as a dry heat, and it's the same heat. It's more sneaky. That's all it is. Heat's heat. So we are going to play the press conference highlights, and maybe then take a break and then come back with the preview. That sounds like a plan. Anyway, stick around.
That's a good word. They're all healthy, Parrish. They're all healthy. They're all 18 and 22-year-old guys, and they're pretty healthy. No, they've all felt good, and I
Wrong button. All right, we'll do the commercial break now.
That's a good word. They're all healthy, Parrish. They're all healthy. They're all 18 and 22-year-old guys, and they're pretty healthy. No, they've all felt good, and I know what you're talking about, and they all feel pretty good. But to another question, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Nick or somebody, but or maybe it might have been Chase. This time of year, obviously you're playing tournament baseball. Some of them are going off schedule. Some of them are on short rest. So I think each week you kind of take each guy, through his own deal. And, after last weekend, Derek pitching twice, Doug pitching twice. The biggest thing I think you can do for them is to make sure that they feel good. That they feel ready, that they feel strong. And so we the guys that didn't throw this past weekend all threw bullpens on Tuesday and Wednesday. The guys that did throw this past weekend, depending on how much they did, some of them threw some bullpens, some of them threw some short works today. Derek wanted to get off the mound a little bit, just to be out here in the heat and spin the ball a little bit, so he threw a short, very short today. But I think it's more about feeling good, and I think really the premise of your question is, is anybody unavailable. Or, no, they all feel great and they're ready to go. And but because of where we are, we wanted to make sure we got through today because obviously we played on Monday night. We only had Tuesday inside, Wednesday out inside, and then we traveled here. So before we announced Derek being the starter, which we figured would happen, one, we want to make sure that we looked at enough tape, looked at enough scouting reports, looked at the stats, tried to figure out the best, matchup, and then, the guy that, in your terms, healthy, right? The guy that feels that he can do it, and Derek, checks all the boxes.
I'm feeling great, and I think a lot of the guys on our staff are feeling great. And as we go through the season and get to the end, we know that we got to be ready whenever we can. And we've done a great job, as a program, listening to our coaches and staff about what'll get us right, getting the kind of rest we need in order to throw more. And we're in great shape. We have a great training staff, so I think a lot of us feel really good. And personally, I do too.
I mean, it was fun. I mean, that's what we come to do. We come to Ole Miss to play in a super regional and a regional, and I mean it was fun. I mean the atmosphere we had and we enjoyed it. But we're here and we're on to the next game and we're taking one game at a time.
No, I think Derek, said it, best, and we didn't even mention that, and that shows you what kind of kid and how sharp he is. I think the biggest thing is you pitch to the opponent, less than you pitch to the ballpark. I mean, there's times, Parrish asked me, last week about pitch selection and all that. There's times, when the wind's gushing out that you may choose another pitch, but as far as in general how you're going to pitch, a really good Arizona offense, I think it's more of what we see on film in a scouting report necessarily than are we playing at Swayze Field or are we playing here, in Tucson? But the field is dimension-wise is big. It'll be the biggest park that we've played on in all year. But I think there's, and again, you'd have to ask the people here, but I think there's a reason that it's that big is because, it carries a little bit better here. And so I think it probably evens out the distance. It's 360 something down the left field line. I've never seen that in a baseball field. But yet, our guys hit some balls out of left field today. So it's not like the ball doesn't, get out. So I think it'll play true, especially for this time of year, especially as it's warm. All the ballparks, start to get a little smaller in the heat. Usually there's, at our place, I'm not sure about the wind here, but at our place, when there's more of a southern breeze, the ballpark plays a lot, smaller. So, but played it, we took BP today, and again, I think it's going to play, true. I don't think it's going to play big. I don't think it's going to play super small. There is a lot of room out there, but the ball does carry a little bit better. So, I'll tell you the first thing that people tell you, is before they even talk about Arizona's offense, which is amazing because it's really good. The first thing is you better start hydrating now, and so I think it's just different for our guys. It feels hotter at our place, in the midsummer when it's 95 degrees, and I think that's why. And again, this is baseball coach's opinion why they tell you to warn you just because you may not notice it immediately. Where, at our place, as soon as you walk out the door, you start sweating. And, here we've been out there an hour and a half and I barely sweat, but it's over 100 degrees. And so it's that dry heat that everybody talks about. But the thing that probably is a bigger concern for me, and you talked about the Southeast, is we haven't played any hot days yet. Hoover, the SEC tournament, was unseasonably cool. I mean, it was in the upper 70s, low 80s, where it's normally in the mid 90s. At our park, last weekend for regional, it was the coolest regional. We've hosted 10 times, I think. It's the coolest regional that we've ever had. Part of that is because we had a lot of rain, but another part of it's just the temperatures were in the low 80s, and so we really haven't had that hot spell yet, and so our guys haven't really got into the heat since last summer. So that's going to be different for us. Thankfully, we're playing at night. We've talked about it, but at the end of the day, it's it's not like it's a tournament where you lose and you're playing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 3 games. You prepare the best you can, and at the end of the day, you're going to have to play baseball. It doesn't matter how hot it is.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast on this Friday. A little bit of technical issues. All the video that we had previously was courtesy of Ole Miss Sports Production. For some reason, the title didn't show up, but I do want to give credit where credit is due. They shot that video, and they deserve credit for it. So that's courtesy of Ole Miss Sports Production. I do want to tell you about the Rebel Walk before we move on. Evelyn and her team do a fantastic job. Basically, they have experts aligned to each sport that comes up, so you always are informed, you always get the information, and they provide a subscriber level experience for no money. Doesn't cost you anything but time, and boy is it well worth it. So you can go to rebelwalk.com, therebelwalk.com, and find out more. Now we're going to do our preview of basically the Super Regional. We're going to play that here, so if you haven't seen it there, we're going to go ahead and do it. So part of it will be on this broadcast. So enjoy that. Tune in for that. We're going to get out of here after that is over. We are still working to put the Rebel Walk recruiting show together and to get that on. It's all built. We just need to establish the connection between me and Leanne, and we can get that recorded and good to go. So basically technology snafus have just kind of jumped into the system, and that is causing the delay. But here is the Super Regional preview with Chris Muller. And since we're not going to come back, I'll see you Monday. Tune in for our reaction show tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on where you are. All right, here you go. Hotty toddy.
Innings pitched, 81 strikeouts, 5.5 ERA. Matches up really nicely with the Arizona starter. Diamond started 13 games, so really quality pitcher that I think we have a really good opportunity to do a lot with. From the Arizona perspective, obviously they're the 5 seed, Pac-12 champions, led by Coach Jay Johnson. He's the Pac-12 coach of the year. I believe he's been at Arizona for around 5 years now. An interesting tidbit that I found, only 2 Pac-12 teams are competing in the Super Regionals this weekend. That's compared to 6 from the SEC. So a little bit of a tidbit there. The Arizona starter has not been announced, but we expect it to be righty Chase Silsa. He's a Pac-12 all-conference pitcher. He can hit 96 on the gun, has got an 8-1 record and a 5.53 ERA. So like I said, matches up really comparably with what we have going on our end in Diamond.
Yeah, it is. We've said for weeks now that this Ole Miss team thrives on velocity, so I'm not afraid of somebody hitting 96 on the gun because they see it quite frequently. That's kind of a Friday night SEC thing.
It absolutely is, and when we talk about having defeated Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, I don't know that anybody on the mound really scares our guys, and so that's really a compliment. Them. Silsa only went 3 innings, allowing 9 hits and 4 runs. So he's absolutely, we can get after him a little bit, and we got to get after him early to get his pitch count up quite a bit. From a hitting perspective on our end, a guy I want to just single out from a really positive standpoint was Peyton Chatagnier. He changed, so I watched the tape on Tuesday night when I got home from the Oxford Regional, and he's changed his batting stance a little bit. So he doesn't get in the box and do the shimmy anymore, it doesn't look like, and I know he doesn't do the bow and arrow thing anymore. So I'm interested to know what happened with that, but he did go 4 for 15 in the regional with 2 home runs. So the run production obviously has gotten a lot better, so I'm really happy for him. We do need a lot of run production, literally from everybody up and down the lineup. So, I hope we get that. From a team perspective, the Wildcats have their freshman of the year, 5 all-conference selectees, 2 all-conference defensive team selectees, and 3 honorable mention selectees. They've got 4 guys that hit over 350, which is I asked Mike last night what kept him up the last couple nights about Arizona, and he goes, all those guys hitting over 350 really scare me a lot. So, the lineup's really tough. They've got a lot of great hitters. Their third baseman, Tony Bullard, has hit 542 over the last 6 games with a 1.0 .208 slugging percentage. So obviously the guy's hitting the ball really, really well. He's had 2 doubles, a triple, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. So, that guy's really hot for them right now. Their center fielder has 4 consecutive on-base streaks, a 44, consecutive on-base game streak. That's kind of cool. But I mean, Kevin Graham said, "Hold my beer, watch this."
Yeah, the more I think about this game and this series and this ballpark, I think it's going to be a game about who can expand space and who can take away space in the outfield. If they're playing the shift, you want to go to the other gap potentially. There's certain things you can do. So if we can hit the gaps, we have a pretty good chance this weekend.
I think we have a really, really good chance. I think our hitters can go, like I said earlier, if we can go up against Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter and come out with victories, we can literally go up against anybody and come out with a victory. It's just a matter of whether we get the timely hit, whether we're able to chain things together, and do that. Another guy that is of interest is their home run leader, their DH Jacob Berry. He's got 15 home runs, and also they have 5 players with double-digit doubles. So, those guys can really hit the ball. So I really wouldn't worry too much about them hitting the ball and putting a few runs on the board. I think it's going to be a game of attrition, and we all know that our bullpen is not, our guys can really perform really well at times, but there's some question marks sometimes when we get into our bullpen. But I look for our bullpen to come out really, really strong again this week.
Yeah, if we can come out game 1 in this preview and get the W, we have Doug going tomorrow to slam the door. So that's a chance to go to Omaha with our best guy on the hill. So it's really lining up to where if we win the game tonight, it's kind of stacked in our favor.
If we win the game tonight, I put us at 80% to win the whole thing, and it may even be higher than that. Doug, I think was 11-2 right now, and so if you just say, okay, let's roll the dice or let's put 13 chips in a bag and pull out just one, 11 times out of 13 we're coming out ahead. So I'll take those odds any day of the week. The Arizona closer is a guy named Vince Vanelli. He's their closer. 8 saves, 5-2, 23 appearances, in a 2.73 ERA. So look for him to get into the game late for Arizona.
Is he a swing and miss guy like we see a lot in the SEC?
I would assume he is. Not totally sure. But, I put our closer up against anybody's closer in America. I'll go to war with Taylor Broadway every single time, and literally I'd go to war, and not to use a military reference, and in all due respect to our men and women in the armed services, but I'd go to battle with any of these young men that we have on our team and stand right beside them.
Yeah, they faced so much and overcame so much this year that A, it's nice for them to get this reward, and B, nobody should be counting them out at any point.
No, and I think that I'm very hopeful that they've got their eyes on the prize. The prize is not in Arizona this weekend. We all know where the prize is, and we get 2 W's, and we're it's Omaha, and there's not much more that can be said about that. Kendall Rogers had an interesting exchange with a person on Twitter. I don't know if it was a male or female person. We'll just assume it's a bad coach that he's got his team within 2 wins of Omaha this weekend. So
should be good. And again, we talk about it's a very big park, but it doesn't seem like Mike Bianco is too fazed by that.
It doesn't. Mike was really loose last night in his post-practice interview. So obviously, a little bit nervous just because of the stakes that are on the line, but really loose, really thoughtful in his answers. Was a couple of the Arizona people asked about the whole Drew Mike connection with LSU and everything else like that, and I thought he handled that really, really well. So I think the whole team, they've just got a loose environment, and a loose atmosphere, and I hope that continues this weekend. I think if it does, if they don't let the moment get too big for them, I think they can do really, really well this weekend.
All right, Ole Miss versus Arizona, first pitch, 8 o'clock Central Time tonight on ESPNU. For Chris Muller, I'm Stephen Willis. Enjoy the game, and of course, hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.